My name is Dean. I think there's only picture.
My name is Lee and I prefer she.
My name is Edwin. Prefer pronoun he.
Kenny as usual. Aisha as usual.
Okay. The motion on the other devices, but without any further use, invite the Prime Minister here.
Yes,
No, switch it off first.
Yeah.
Right, Mr. Speaker, let's have a look at the current situation, right? So, in the past few months, there has been numerous killings of tourism in Bangladesh, and all of it is claimed by the ISIS. But however, the Bangladeshi government has taken another way of help by just protecting themselves by pushing all the blame to the opposition, and we think that it is a problem because instead of solving the problem, which is the ISIS, that leads to this kind of problem with lots of evidence existing, they are just pushing it to the opposition for their own government political benefit, and we think that is not correct. Okay, now let's have a look. Okay, why? We say that we would like to halt the foreign aid to the Bangladeshi government until they they eradicate ISIS in Bangladesh. See, let's have a look about foreign aid. Okay, see, let's say foreign aid. Why does the IMF like to give monetary aid to the countries? Why is it? Because they want it's actually in a form of investment. And when they try to give this, there's always a give and take. There's always condition to it. Okay, now let's have a look. During 1997, when there's an economical crisis, when they wanted to offer something to the other government, like in Malaysia for sure, there is also a condition. So for now, we are setting a condition for the Bangladeshi government so that they could get the aid. Alright, and now let's have a look. Okay, see, why is it that we're setting this condition, which is to eradicate the IS until that so that the foreign see, why is it that we're having this condition being set on the Bangladeshi government? Okay, all right, let's have a look, right? Because currently, as I said just now, the numerous killing of the tourists itself has caused a lot of instability in social, and this instability in social, it doesn't just harm the Bangladeshi people themselves. It doesn't just give them fear. It's constantly giving them this problem, and then it's not just that, because it's a tourism. It's actually tourists. It badly affects the tourism industry. When it affects the tourism industry, of course, the business is bad, and economically, it's going to be really, really badly damaged, and we do not want that to happen. Now, let's have a look at the main purpose of giving foreign aid. Sit down, please. Okay, the main purpose of having a foreign aid is actually to make the global environment better in a lot of sense, in economical sense, in political sense, just generally to make it better. All right, but the thing is, right now, we at the government side, we are sure that if the Bangladeshi government is not being able to solve the main problem, which is the ISIS killing of tourists, it is not beneficial. I mean, instead they're blaming it on the opposition just for their own political benefit, and we think that is not correct, because the thing is, if they're doing it, they're just creating a diversion and not solving the main problem, which is, at the end, the purpose of giving foreign aid to help make the country better, and and which will lead to a better global environment is not being achieved. So we think that since this main purpose of it is not being achieved, we should force the Bangladeshi government to eradicate the ISIS so that we can move on to the next step of having foreign aid, thus making the environment better. Okay. So other than that, let's have a look. Okay. See when the let's have a deeper analysis of how eradicating the foreign aid is going to help, right? See when we eradicate the foreign aid, the Bangladeshi government is forced to do so. The thing is, without foreign aid, they are not being able to do a lot of things, and so they can focus on the right thing to do, the problem, which is the killing of them, the killing of ISIS, all right, on the tourists. Okay, now so okay, when this problem is being solved, of course, it's gonna be safer, and then there's a cohesion inside the society is better, and when this kind of social stability and the safety is being achieved, of course, the business is gonna be good, of course, and then the tourism industry is gonna be good, and of course, it's gonna lead to a better, a more stable economical environment, thus economical growth, and thus when your institution like the IMF give fund, they would actually have a little return, which is investment return back in return. So when the economical growth is happening, of course that the IMF and so will be able to get their investment return, which would then lead to give Bangladeshi government a better credibility. And then when the Bangladeshi government would like to apply for more aid in the future, it'll be possible for them. All right. So see let's have a look why. Let's have a look more into why we want the Bangladeshi government to eradicate the ISIS. Okay, see, globally we do know that the ISIS is a very major harm. Okay, let's have a look. The most famous one is Syria. And right now we still have like a lot of refugee issues, a lot of war going on there, and we do not want to happen. See, we do not want Bangladesh to be the next Syria, even if if the opposition might say it might not be the next Syria, but the thing is, even if it might not be as serious as Syria, the things that is happening to Syria, which is as bad, would it be happening? Yes, it would. So we do not want that to happen. We do not want if the Bangladeshi to be affected by it. It is not just the people, because it is economically, and the thing is with the current situation of Bangladesh, it has business and also it has a trade with all the countries around the region. So it not just affects Bangladesh itself, it affects the whole contingent as a whole. Okay, and the thing is, when it is being done, the tourism industry is going to be better. It's going to be safer for people to visit, because it is going to be safer for people to visit Bangladesh, and not just that. It is safer for people in the nation who are not afraid to do business, and thus making the country a better place, and thus having the people, the investors having more confidence in Bangladesh itself. And what am I doing today? We're talking today about how is it the condition, how bad is it, and how we needed this to have this foreign aid, and how is it that we can force Bangladeshi government to eradicate ISIS and start making the conditions better. And with that, I'll talk to you, of course.
Thank you very much. Upon the case for almost developed one of the proposals here.
Mr. Chair, there's two problems to be solved here today. The first problem is when the Bangladeshi government is pushing the blames to the oppositions, what can we do to help the oppositions to get back? Can we do to protect the opposition's party so that the truth can be told to the citizens? And second is to eradicate ISIS. What we see from besides opening government is that they merely assume that by halting foreign aid will actually make or enable the Bangladeshi government to eradicate ISIS. We do not see any link, that did not provide us any link as to how halting foreign aid will actually enable or make Bangladeshi governments to eradicate ISIS. They merely assume that when we halt foreign aid to Bangladeshi governments, the Bangladeshi governments will somehow start eradicating ISIS, and then we can start giving back foreign aid. And we tell you that that is not realistic, because if you do that, you are actually you are not solving the problem, you are causing more harm. As from side opening oppositions, we believe that the implementations of this policy actually causes more harm than goods, and this is why we want to oppose the motions. There's 3 points I want to bring to you today. The first point is that it's wrong to coerce another countries to do what you want them to do, and second, there will be backlashes, and these backlashes will harm the people of Bangladesh, and this is what the government has failed to consider. So first, why is it wrong for us to coerce another countries to do what you want to do? When you go enable this policy, right, what you are trying to do is essentially trying to make the Bangladeshi government to eradicate ISIS, because you are in a way trying to force them because they are depending on you, they are depending on your foreign aids for economic growth. And this is what you are trying to do. When you remove the foreign aids, you are essentially trying to force them to eradicate ISIS, because that's the condition you have set for them. And this is what you are doing, and you are actually forcing them to do what you want. And we think that this is wrong, because even though it's wrong for the Bangladesh's ruling party to blame the opposition's party for the kidnapping of tourists, we believe that it is even worse for us to push our ideas onto the Bangladeshi government in order to simply protect these terrorists. Because we think that when this terrorist go to Bangladesh to travel or something, they have already know the risk that there's a risk. Even though the Bangladeshi governments have a right, have the obligations to protect these terrorists, we believe that the governments itself, we have the obligations to protect democracies, and we think that democracies needs to be protected. And we believe that we also believe that we have an obligations to people everywhere, not just to our own citizens. Before that, yes.
So you say that it's wrong to close the other country to stuff. See, when one party invests in another company, also they have to say in the company's doings. Why is it that when the people like the IMF is giving foreign aid, they have no say? And why is it that they have no condition to it? Can you justify?
Yes, what they are trying to do is that they give foreign aid in order to intervene in another countries. But we believe that when we give foreign aid, we do not intervene in the policies of the government. We believe that when we give foreign aid, it is for the betterment of the society, for the betterment of the people, to fulfill our obligations to the people themselves, not to intervene in the governments. When we protect the people, if you want to help the opposition's party, what we think we should do is that we should tell the people, we should publish the news, we should enable the people to make informed choices instead of coercing the government, to put the blame on themselves and start eradicating ISIS. Secondly, I will tell you how there will actually be backlashes. Firstly, we have to look at the Bangladeshi government. We know that they are all power structures, when they feel threatened, they will actually react defensively, and they will actually be more aggressive. So one example is Boko Haram. When the US started to force Boko Haram to recognize females' rights, how Boko Haram reacts is that they actually kidnapped schoolgirls, and this actually worsens female rights. And we believe the same thing will happen to Bangladeshi government. When we force the Bangladeshi governments to start to eradicate IS and by importing foreign aids, we believe that the Bangladeshi government might result that there will be no change in the Bangladeshi government. In the worst case scenario, they might actually cooperate with other extremists or with another countries where we do not even have, where they share very different ideas from ours. But in our sides, we said that if we continue to give foreign aids to them and we do not force them to do this, we think that it's actually enable us to talk to the Bangladeshi government easier, and it actually help us to solve the IS problem instead of forcing the Bangladeshi governments to take actions by halting them. Because we think that when we put the Bangladeshi government in the corner, they will actually react more offensively and they will not listen to what we have to say. But when we continue to give foreign aid, but when we bring these issues to the table and we communicate to the Bangladeshi government, then we think that there's more tendency for the Bangladeshi government to hear us up and to take positive actions. My third point is that it will actually harm the people of Bangladesh. How is so? We believe that all governments have an obligations to people, and there's some rights which is more fundamental than the others. And we believe that the rights of the people to a peaceful life is fundamentally more important than the right to democracy. And even in the worst case scenario, even if the opposition party is being blamed, we believe that the foreign aids given to the Bangladeshi government actually goes to the people, and we believe that we should enable the people to develop themselves. And we think that we have a duty to the people of Bangladesh, even though they are not our citizens, because we believe that these rights are universal and we have to protect the rights of these people. And indirectly, if we implement this policy, we are responsible for these backlashes, because these are some of the things that we can see ourselves, that we can foresee ourselves. So if we actually implement these policies, and if the people of Bangladesh suffer, that is our fault. And we believe that we should not do that. And for all the reasons I've told you, we believe that we should oppose the motions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So to the floor, we call on the parties.
Mr. Speaker, sir, it's a shame that all comes out and say that, look, we cannot use the force to force them into listen to us to eradicate the IS, because that won't work. They said that negotiation will work, however, they never stated that how it would work and what is the incentive for the Bangladeshi to listen to our words to eradicate the ISIS, and what is this and how this will work to eradicate ISIS for us. So what the government is trying to achieve here is, first, economic growth in Bangladesh, because this is very important and how it affects other countries as well in the continent. And secondly, the eradication of ISIS as a marginal benefit that comes from it, which is extra benefits. So now a few rebuttals for the opening of oppositions. They said that it's wrong to force the other country to listen to our incentive through foreign aid and stuff. However, we think that is not true, because a country is never independent themselves. When the country is in political instability or in social instability, the investment of the IMF in there will be affected, and we think that this will affect the whole continent as a whole, because when a country is relying on trade, relying on the tourism industry, it will cause a effect that in its economic benefits, even if we invest in it, we will still not see the economic growth in the country, and and how this will work is what we'll explain in my incentive letter. So second rebuttal is, it said it will cause a backlash because they might be reacting like the Boko Haram, or because Bangladeshi government, they compare Bangladeshi government to a Boko Haram. We think that is not true, because first, Boko Haram is a terrorist movement. They have nothing to lose. That's why they are there to kidnap the students. However, for the government of Bangladesh, they rely on economics with other countries in order to survive. So we think that they have incentive to serve us. So, and I'll move on to my incentive for now. I will first explain how by halting the foreign aid will help in forcing Bangladeshi to listen to us. And secondly, why does investing the foreign aid in the Bangladeshi government in the current status quo is pointless? And thirdly, why does the economic growth of the Bangladeshi government so important that it will affect the whole continent? So firstly, how does the mechanism of halting foreign aid will help in Bangladesh? Okay, so first we need to see that Bangladesh is a developing country. In its current status quo, its main reliance is on tourism. However, in its other industry, it requires help because we can see that there are a lot of immigrants from Bangladesh coming to other countries because they cannot find jobs in their own country, which explains the current economic situation in their country, which means that its own people can't even find jobs in other industries. That's why they come to other countries to find jobs. So the foreign aid acts as a help in order to help them to establish other sectors such as the manufacturing sector, the agriculture sector in other countries, so that it will be sustainable in itself in the long future. However, in the current status quo, the Bangladesh still needs to rely on this kind of foreign aid because they haven't had the ability to sustain in themselves, and this kind of reliance is what is the incentive of them to listen to us to eradicate ISIS so that they can achieve economic growth in the future. So why does investing helping them before it ends now is pointless before that?
You say that taking away this foreign aid, does it not make them desperate? Is it not a telltale sign that they're desperate, that so many immigrants are going everywhere and they need food and water and shelter and all this medical aid? Yet you take away this aid, do you not think you'll be desperate enough to join ISIS?
First, I will tell you why we are removing this. That's why later you will know why. Because investing, you're helping them now is pointless, and which is what I will explain later. Investing of foreign aid is pointless in the current status quo for Bangladeshi government. Why? Because first, when the political is instable, as just is depicted in the status quo, which the government is blaming the opposition party for the killing of tourism, killing of the tourists. This causes the blaming game start over again, and all the people sees politically the governments are blaming each other, and there are no resolve they did not find a resolve to try to solve these situations. We see no incentive for them to solve this kind of situation. And secondly, the people are scared because the ISIS might be lurking around inside the country itself. What this will cause? The effect of this is the other tourists, they will see that Bangladesh is a country which is dangerous because there are ISIS in there. And which this will causes the foreign investor of the country to have no confidence inside the country itself. Because if the fear of investing in something that does not return profits is an illogical move for investor to invest in. What will this will cause? The loss of investment will cause the declination of the other sectors inside the country itself, and this will halt the economic growth in Bangladesh. So even if now we are giving the foreign aid in there, the political instability is still existing, social instability is still existing. The foreign investment will still have no confidence in it because the government has no incentive to solve the problem. Which I explained just now, we give them incentive to solve the problem. So thirdly, how does the economic growth of Bangladesh is so important? The economic growth of one country relies on many factors such as its own sustainability and also the trading and foreign relations. So when one country starts to slow down in its economic factor, it might causes the economic in other country to begin to decline and the previous investment of other country in Bangladesh they will result in a loss because first, the Bangladesh country which faces the economic decline will will affect the investment of other countries itself. So we think that this is very detrimental in our status quo. So what I present you today is first, how does halting foreign aid will help the Bangladeshis in the long run to eradicate ISIS, and secondly, why does investing foreign aid is pointless in the current status quo? And we think that this is very important, and the economic growth in Bangladesh is important to all the continents, and we think that eradication of ISIS benefits that come from it. So I probably propose my case.
Okay, thank you very much. In the case for the opening solution, call on the lead of the executive committee or here. Six.
I would like to start my speech with a question. How would I feel if I forced each and every one of you right now to take off your clothes to achieve my objective? Are you going to listen to me, or are you going to feel enraged? On the motion that this House would halt foreign aid to the Bangladeshi government until they commit towards eradicating ISIS in Bangladesh, we on side opposition would like to oppose this motion. Now the problem today is that ISIS is known for being a very violent and constantly growing group of religious extremists fighting for an Islamic caliphate to be implemented on the whole world. So among the crimes committed by these extremists were the kidnapping of American journalists and gruesome beheadings. The methods today also include tying explosives onto the necks of these captives and blowing them up, drowning them by locking them up in a cage and slowly lowering them down into a pool, and also running them over with military tanks. So we see these crimes against humanity should be stopped, and we believe ISIS, the expansion of ISIS should be halted, but not in the sense that we halt foreign aid to the Bangladeshi government. So what is the problem that needs to be solved today? What is the whole spirit of this motion? This motion is about putting a stop to ISIS in Bangladesh by halting foreign aid, meaning we want, what Thai government is trying to propose is that they want to pressure the Bangladeshi government into eradicating these extremist groups. The problem that stops this from happening, apparently, is that the Bangladeshi government doesn't believe that the crimes committed against the tourists were committed by the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. Instead, they blame the crimes on the opposition party. Even with tangible proof to put blame on the deaths of tourists on ISIS, the Bangladeshi government refused to concede to this fact. This shows that the Bangladeshi government would be very reluctant to commit to eradicating ISIS in Bangladesh. And that would mean foreign aid would be denied to them for quite a long time, because as the motion states, it's not going to be given to them until they commit. So we on side opposition, we're going to show you that this causes more harms than good. All right, so I have one flashpoint, which is basically organic change versus coercion. What is organic change? Organic change is basically change created inside a government, in a society,
that does not require any form of pressure. It's basically change that the government decides to take themselves based on influence. Coercion, on the other hand, involves pressure. It involves taking away a person's choice or a state's sovereignty to make its own choice in order for you to achieve your own objective. So I will compare these two paradigms and show to you how organic change on our side is better than coercion on the government side. So what the government side is basically practicing is coercion, whereby they help foreign aid to the Bangladeshi government with hope that when this foreign aid is not given to the Bangladeshi government, they're going to feel pressured. They're going to know that they're going to suffer, and therefore they will commit to what we want them to do, which is to eradicate ISIS in Bangladesh. We say there is a problem here because it belittles the state's sovereignty. Now, why is the sovereignty of the state important? We believe that no intervention should be given unto a state unless that state is unable to make their own decisions, make their own choices. We see that the Bangladeshi government is not in as dire a state as Syria. We see that the Bangladeshi government does not have as much of ISIS influence in it compared to Syria or Iran. And we believe that the Bangladeshi government is capable of making their own choices. Therefore, it is wrong for us to intervene within their policy. It is wrong for us to coerce them into making doing what we want them to do, because it takes away the sovereignty of the state. Yes.
See, as I have mentioned, based on past cases, whenever an aid is given, the policy of the government will be changed in a way. So as you can see, it's like one of the most significant will be export. It will be changed by the IMF itself towards the policy of the country. Can you?
All right, thank you. I was about to move on to that. So the government often talks about wanting to create a more credible image for Bangladesh, but fails to see that in denying the Bangladeshi government their rights to foreign aid, it will cause the Bangladeshi government to realize, to rebel, which defeats the whole purpose of putting pressure on them in the first place. Now, they come up and they often talk about how the country relies on its tourism, but the problem is we can't see that economic development happening in the Bangladeshi government when foreign investors fear to invest in Bangladeshi government. But I don't see how it links to how the halting of foreign aid will actually cause investors to want to invest more in the Bangladeshi government. In fact, under the topic of coercion just now, when you halt foreign aid, meaning you're not giving them any more aid any longer, that will cause desperation among the citizens. Now, there's third-party harm here, you see. This is a fight between people who are implementing the policy, the Bangladeshi government, and also ISIS, the opposition group, and the civilians. Now let's take into account the civilians. When you're halting foreign aid, who is really suffering here? It's people who are not involved in the war in the first place. Women and children, people like you and me. We have nothing to do with it. And yet, we are the ones suffering for the decisions made by our government. So we see, it is very wrong to coerce people into making decisions, because when you want to pressure someone into doing something that you want them to do, you have to make them see reason. Which is why, on side government, I'm going to talk about organic change. We want to show the Bangladeshi government what ISIS is doing is wrong, and we want to show them that in the best case scenario, even if the tourist murderers were not ISIS, that crimes against humanity, murder, rape, and genocide is unacceptable. So we on side opposition is proud to oppose. Thank you.
Well, thanks. I have the whole speech now.
Okay, thank you very much. And open the case for the closing call on the administrative government member. Here.
Thank you.
This speaker on motion today that this House would halt foreign aid to the Bangladeshi government until they commit towards eradicating ISIS in Bangladesh. We think that the problem in today's debate, as all of us acknowledge, is that the government of Bangladesh are being denial towards the existence of terrorists in Bangladesh first. And the second problem, which they blame the opposition party. And before I move on to two of my substantive, which is first, support by not stopping this foreign aid to the Bangladeshi government is actually the same as supporting the killing of the international community, the killing of our own people who travel to Bangladesh. And second, we think that by continuously giving the foreign aid to Bangladesh's government will jeopardize the principles of democracy in Bangladesh, and we will explain that later in Bangladesh. So what is it? What is actually the foreign aid that we are talking about? The foreign aid can be in form of monetary, it can be in form of medical or healthcare that is given by the international community. It can be in form of shelter and etc. And we think. And our idea today is that we think that as long as you have these kind of things, you get everything that you have. You don't learn from, when you have something, you don't appreciate it. But when you lose it, then you start to feel the loss and try to listen to, try to fix, and try to think about what you have done. And before I move on to my rebuttals, they talk about how they wanted. So their idea is that they wanted to give continuously giving foreign aid and slowly cooperate with the Bangladeshi government. As for our side, we wanted to stop the foreign aid to and pressurize this Bangladeshi government. And we think that. The idea on giving foreign aid to ensure that they can cooperate in someday that the ISIS will be eradicated. We think that it is not realistic because in the current situation, the government of Bangladesh are being denial and they don't even acknowledge the existence of ISIS. And if they wanted to eradicate, they would have acknowledged the existence of ISIS in first place and eradicate them. And we do not see how that the idea that they have painted in the picture will happen. And we see it as a tactics of the government of Bangladesh to running from being accountable instead of what they are trying to paint the picture. And they talk about how, they talk about this analogy of taking off the clothes. We think that the analogy that they give is irrelevant. We are not taking all resources from the Bangladesh. We are stopping giving the resources. If she buys her own clothes, then why would I take off her clothes? Of course she would be mad. The another thing would be that she has her own clothes right now. That the only thing that I do is I only stop giving the clothes to her. And there is a difference. Moving on to my first substantive, supporting by stopping foreign aid, by not stopping foreign aid to the Bangladeshi government will be just as the same supporting the killing of our own people, which is the international community. There is a lot of the people who travels to the tourists who travels to Bangladesh are being killed by the ISIS in Bangladesh, and there's a lot of evidence that shows that the ISIS really exists there. But then the Bangladeshi government is not being. They blame the opposition party because we think that they wanted to make sure that this opposition party in Bangladesh are actually the bad people. They are the one who causes this mess, and we think that this harms the principle of democracy. Why? First, we think that democracy is very important in upholding the rights, the human rights, in having a healthy government with a healthy policy, because they are watchdog. They are check and balance because they are a strong opposition party. We think that this is a tactics from the Bangladeshi government to actually making sure that people don't have any power and they wanted them their own selves to be in absolute power. And we think, like for example, if the people in Bangladesh are voting for the government, like 40% of them voting for the current government, and we think that even though they are proportionate opposition, we think that the majority is still in support of the opposition, because 60% of the people only being divided by a lot of parties. There are 60% of people is not being agreed to what the government to what government do, and we think that having this 60% population of not being agreed to what government do is actually very important, and the government are trying to do making sure that these 60% of people who, and the opposition party who represents them are not being the one who can attack what the government wants and the policy what the government was supposed to be accountable to. And we think that once they receive the aid from ISIS, they keep on receiving the aid from ISIS, the government of Bangladesh will not have the incentive to combat the suffering, because they know that the foreign aid will still coming in, and there's no pressure from there is no form of pressure. And what are the differences between our side and their side? They talk about how right to life is very important. By not stopping the foreign aid to the Bangladeshi government and cooperate with other countries, cooperate with Bangladesh government to combat, as until now we don't see any difference. And they talk about right to life is more important than democracy. We think that and last but not least, we think that what we achieved is that we will have a government that is accountable to acknowledge the weakness and have a healthy democracy to stop the ISIS. With that, I'm done.
Thank you very much. On the case for the open opposition, we close the open call on the
The motion today is the House would halt foreign aid to the Bangladeshi government until they commit towards eradicating ISIS in Bangladesh. We, as the opposing side, we oppose. Before moving on to my extensions, I would like to rebut a few of their points. The Prime Minister said that you have to force them in order to achieve this. But how are you going to achieve this without sufficient funds? If you push the government into eradicating ISIS, you are therefore limiting the amount of change they're going to induce. Like, how are you going to expect change if you're not going to help them change? It's going to be exactly like Syria if you do not provide the funds, because the locals in Bangladesh will be desperate and be more likely to join ISIS, which is the opposite of what we're trying to achieve. Moving on to my first point, this issue is an ethical issue, which means you are going to be depriving them of food, of medical, and of shelter. This will open up a recruitment issue. The locals will get angry, they'll be unhappy, and so will be more inclined to follow the ISIS propaganda and believe that Westerners don't care about them and will therefore abandon them. And moving on, it is also the UN's job to uphold peace, to provide humanitarian aid to these people. And because the UN was initially formed to stop war from ever happening again, and they have failed so far. If they do not have this foreign aid as a developing country, they do not have the resources to eradicate or even to attempt to eradicate, which is the main purpose. As I said, the UN has failed before. They have stood by during genocides in Cambodia and Congo and many others, but they have done nothing to help or improve the situation of women in developing countries as well. Not for the women. They have failed to protect rights of citizens, ethnic minorities, and women. The UN was set up to express purpose of preventing global wars, yet done nothing by aiding them, they will be taking a step forward and will be doing what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to be eradicating or at least provide some form of funding or help towards the Bangladeshi government.
Yes. See, I want to just tell you that, Bangladeshi government already have the existing resources, which includes security forces, defense forces, and with these forces, they could actually help, they could eradicate ISIS. And when the ISIS is being eradicated, then only the foreign aid will come.
Thank you.
Yes, but as I said before, these funds, ISIS is a very big corporation. These funds might not be enough. Therefore, you're limiting the amount and the extent of the eradication. By providing foreign aid, you're putting the government in a more helpful, in a more prime position. If you're going to push the government into a corner with insufficient funds, they're not going to do much good into eradicating this cause. So, with that, I conclude that as the opposing side, we strongly believe that we should provide foreign aid to the Bangladeshi government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And vote is for the government side, vote on the government. Yeah.
Two questions today. Firstly, which side better protect democracy? Secondly, which side will cause more harm to the society of Bangladesh itself? Right? Before that, few rebuttal. It asked us, closing government come out and ask us that if without sufficient money, how are we gonna combat the ISIS as a whole, right? And effectively, right? We tell you that we don't really need them to actually fully, fully demolish the ISIS itself. After that, we then give him the money, right? Looking at the motion, we already tell you that once they commit in combating the ISIS itself, foreign aid will be going there. What's important is the intentions of the government itself, but not whether the actions, the efficiency of the action or effectivity of the actions itself, right? And we also tell you that, okay, and in the very first place, we also tell you that Bangladesh have their own industry or whatsoever, even though it's not good, right? They still have money. They still put in budget into the defensive into the defensive system and all these things, right? So we don't think that they will be imposed any difficulties for them to at least show the intentions to admit that all the killing of terrorism is actually committed by ISIS itself. Second rebuttal. They tell us that people will be very desperate since that foreign aid will not come in and they will actually go and join ISIS, right? But we tell that not really, right? But we tell you that not really, right? And I will explain that in my first crash later. And we also tell you that in these situations, right, if democracy is not protected properly, as the opposition has already been demolished, right? We tell you that people will hack the government and find that now the current system is not even able to protect our human rights whatsoever. Even though it will even force them go to the ISIS itself, right? Hence, we tell you that, and I will explain later why your opposition be demolished, right? Okay, they tell us that UN job has been to uphold the peace or human rights there, and they has not been doing that, right? So they're actually quite kind of don't making sense. Why? Because it's already telling you that we will stop the foreign aid itself. Means that we have been giving foreign aid, so we don't think that UN has not been doing anything, right? That's why we think that there's no extensions coming out from closing oppositions, which could help them to win the case, right? Going on to my question, which sides of the house better protect democracy? They tell us that, guys, as an international committee, we should not intervene in government policy since people don't give us the right to do so, right? It tells us that people didn't also give right to government to actually go and accuse the opposition for anything that they didn't do, right? And we tell them what the government do now is actually going against the constitution of the Bangladesh itself. Since people can do nothing now, and we tell you that because of that, right, the ISIS power will be growing, right? We tell you that why can't the international community to actually go in and help out? And we're telling you we are doing the right thing, right? And we're telling you we're doing the right thing. We're actually helping people to actually defend democracy itself, right? And what have we told you today, right? We have told you that the act of government accusing the oppositions, right, is actually labeling oppositions as bad people. They're actually labeling them as terrorism. We tell you that they're actually telling people that they're even doing that. They're telling people that now they're killing people, so we have to cash all of them, go to prison, or because of committing murder, right? So we have to kill you. Now, no oppositions. Now they're actually no oppositions in current situations, right? We tell you that they're actually forbidding the oppositions to go for selections, right? We tell you that since there's no oppositions, now the government is like, yeah, I'm the only party now in the group. I can always have a say, or I can always pass through all the policy that I want. I can violate the human rights, whatever I want, whatsoever, right? So we tell you that. It's very detrimental in terms of to the democracy itself, right? And we tell that the government will not change its stance also, right? Since the benefits is already there and there's no even other outsider come and intervene to us. So we tell that there's no force that actually stopping them from doing so. So we tell that that's very detrimental, right? In long term, right? We tell that in long term we also win. Why? So we tell that in terms of Because they tell you that once the government they actually have the incentive to actually stopping the opposition to actually go for elections, right? There will be no change for like in future at all. We tell you that yeah, there will be no change in future. Hence, the government will still sitting there forever, and there's no point of change, right? They tell us that they will resolve through talk, right? We tell that we tell that firstly, there's no incentive for the government to actually to actually listen to the talk, right? Why? Because tell that firstly, now they didn't even acknowledge the existence of ISIS itself. Secondly, we also tell that there's no outsider force to actually force them to do change. Secondly, right, we tell that even though they have incentive, right, we still be better because we tell that under their side, right, they will take a very long time, right? And we tell that by then, right, the opposition's power has already all been destroyed. If you harm the democracy, we tell that all the member of opposition has already been executed. If you harm the human right, if you harm the justice itself, right? But this side of the house cause more harm, right? We tell you that they do, right? Why? Because it tell you that firstly they harm democracy, they harm human right. But we tell that our opposing government tell you that if you harm the economy, if we don't do so, if you harm the economy as a whole, we also tell you that we preserve democracy, we preserve human rights, we preserve everything. I'm proud to propose.
Thank you very much. And also the debate on the opposition with PMS.
In a time of desperation, where people are dying from hunger, dying from the lack of medical care, dying from wars that are not their own, these are innocent people dying from all these causes. Why are you debating on the long-term economical benefits and the investments of these international monetary funds? This, as my partner has already said, is an ethical issue. You are trying to deprive them of aid in order to coerce them, as they have already mentioned, into joining a war that they do not wish to join. Now, you, Prime Minister, said that foreign aid has conditions. It's called foreign aid, not foreign trade. You do not have to set conditions on charities. You give the money, that's called charity. You give food, it's called charity. When you set conditions, it's called trade, it's called bartering. Foreigners being killed, you said foreigners being killed destroys tourism and economy. Now, how does depriving a country of aid, of foreign aid, make it any better? How does making a country join a war they do not want to join make tourism any better than it already is? You say that you will only give them back the aid when they eradicate ISIS, but how are they going to eradicate ISIS without any aid? Their people are starving, their people are dying from the lack of medical care, their people are dying in this war, and yet you deprive them of this aid that they should be getting anyways. Now, you also said that you want to prevent Bangladesh from becoming like Syria. How are you going to prevent them from becoming like Syria? You're taking away their food, their water, their medicine. You'll be desperate, you'll be angry at the Western powers. You know why ISIS is around? It's because they are angry at the Western powers. If you make these people in Bangladesh angry at the Western powers, what do you think will happen? They really think they're going to vote, oh, let's join the Americans in this war, let's kill our own people in this war. No, they're going to say, let's join ISIS because they have foreign aid as well. They provide for their people, unlike you. Now, second speaker of the government, you say it increases the economy and trade. How does holding aid do this? How does it increase how does it better the economy and increase trade in their country when you call foreign aid? It's the same point with the Prime Minister. Investing in foreign aid is pointless, you say. These IMFs, they feel that all these people that want to invest in this country, you say that, sit down for now, it's pointless to invest there. Why is that an issue right now when these people are dying, when there is a war going on, and when so many people, so many innocents are dying and suffering? Okay, if I'm
I don't
property. See, what happened now is that's the killing of tourists, not the people in Bangladesh.
Is that all?
Yeah,
Okay.
explain it.
Yes, it's killing of tourists now. So how do you solve this? Stop sending tourists. However, if they join the war against ISIS, these are not tourists that are going to be dying. These are not people going on holidays. These are people. They are civilians. These are people that are in this army. These are Bangladeshis. These unfortunate people that can't even receive foreign aid will have to join a war that they do not want to join. Now, closing government. Closing government, we haven't really said much, to be honest, so I don't have that much to rebut. However, you did say that they keep getting aid and they're going to take advantage of it because we all understand that. They do take advantage of that. People that receive aid, give me a minute, that receive aid over long periods of time, they do tend to take advantage of this sort of situation. However, just depriving them of this aid do any more good than harm. You see, what makes you think that ISIS can't provide aid? Obviously, the people of ISIS are fat enough such that they can live for so long and fight in so many wars. Okay.
Democracy was just jeopardized and end up to result in violence in human rights, violence in or making an unjust policy, which will also deprive people to go to ISIS.
I'm sorry, you prevent people from going to ISIS by what? Can you just repeat that? Sorry.
We prevent people to go to ISIS by protecting democracy.
By protecting democracy, you prevent people from going to ISIS. You haven't said anything to protect democracy. If you want to protect democracy, why don't you help the Bangladeshi government solve this issue, provide proof for them that it is indeed the ISIS that have been doing all these killings and not the opposition. They find it hard to believe, and not necessarily is it political agenda. Perhaps they have external proof that you do not know. Sit down, please. Now, my partner has talked about the UN a bit, how it has failed in its duty to prevent war. However, the UN has two duties. One, humanitarian duty to help by providing foreign aid and that sort of thing for people in need. And two is to prevent a third world war from occurring. Okay? Now, they have obviously failed for the most part in their first duty as to prevent war. This is their main duty. Then ISIS is around, there's wars in Syria, in Iraq, everywhere, all over the world. Why? And now you want the UN to fail in their second duty to provide aid to these people in need. And not only that, you wish to use their second duty, by the way, to provide foreign aid to those in need in order to coerce them into achieving the first duty that they failed to do, by the way. This is a job for the UN. The United Nations are here to prevent war. The United Nations are here to protect us from global wars. It's not the Bangladeshi's job. It's not a Bangladeshi's job to fight ISIS. It's not a Bangladeshi's. It's their own prerogative to choose whether or not they wish to join the war. Now, yes, one last point. Anyone?
The whole motion says that to curb the ISIS in Bangladesh, not sending them to war.
Okay, no, the motion says this House would halt foreign aid to Bangladeshi government until they commit towards eradicating ISIS in Bangladesh. Now, eradicating, the word is eradicating, that means completely wiping out. Now, even if, say for instance, you kill a bunch of ISIS members, you find a cell group, one or two cell groups, you're not going to be able to immediately just wipe them all out. That's not possible. There will always be insurgents. And depriving them of this aid, as we have said time and time again, will only encourage the Bangladeshis to join ISIS. Now, it is all for all these reasons, all these plus this extension that my partner has given, that we believe that we are proud to strongly oppose this motion, that we should halt foreign aid towards Bangladesh until they commit to eradicating ISIS. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. The floor second is
Good job. Well done once again. Well done again.